So this video might get a little esoteric, just bear with me. Even the most resilient among us are not all powerful, and especially not indestructible. Being alive is, in addition to all other things, a resource management game. And I'm not referring to money and assets, stuff like that, though those are certainly resources that need to be managed. But like time, you can pay someone to manage those resources for you. They are much more quantifiable, much more understandable for an outsider. Those other resources, not so much. Frankly, they're not even visible to outsiders unless they're completely depleted, or there's really a lot of them, and we ourselves have a lot of problems detecting the levels of them that we currently have. But it's essential that we take care of them. It's essential that we look after them being well maintained, and it's essential that we make sure they do not run out, because when they do run out, it costs us. I am talking about mind, body, and spirit. None of these three things are inexhaustible wells of infinite cornucopia, even though a lot of us would like to believe that they are. And it's not even like these three get the equal treatment that they deserve. A lot of people will just flat out deny the existence of two of them, or just pretend like you don't need to take care of them at all. It's easy to realize that your body is not an infinite resource. Barring the wear and tear of a long period of time, it's just the day-to-day that will cost you a lot of energy, especially if you work something that's physically demanding, like construction or hygiene. You wake up in the morning, give some starter fuel, and then just go on out and work and work and work. You occasionally refuel, you occasionally give short breaks to regenerate, but that's basically what you have to do. Then at night you go to sleep, your body recoups the energy it's lost, and then the next day things just start again. Of course, it doesn't always recoup all of the energy, and it also gets worse at regenerating over time, but that's a topic for another video that I have already made. For many people, getting physically exhausted is the only type of exhaustion that you can have. This is why, still to this very day, you have people who work physically demanding jobs telling all the people who work in offices that there's absolutely no possible way that they could be in any way exhausted at the end of the day. But the mind is also a finite resource, and this can even be physically measured. The brain, even though it is a relatively small part of our total body mass, burns about 20% of our total caloric intake on a standard day. When you do strenuous mental work, that number will increase. And the world we live in demands a lot of strenuous mental work. If you compare life today to how it was 100 years ago, it certainly is not as physically straining, but it is much more mentally challenging. Every place you go, every environment that you visit has its own complex set of rules that you need to understand and navigate. Every store, every office, every agency, every filing system, all of it is different, and you need to switch between different modes of thinking all of the time. You need to be able to operate your vehicle, your computer, all the software on your computer, the copying machine, the coffee maker, your mobile phone, the alarm system, all of those things. And doing all that, all of the time, is heavy on your mind. Concentrating on a single task, or worse, several single tasks at the same time, is exhausting. Doing creative work, coming up with new ideas and developing those concepts all of the time, is exhausting. Learning new information and integrating it in a useful manner, literally building new pathways in the brain, is exhausting. Just making decisions is exhausting. You can't just keep on going, because at some point your mind will stop working properly. This is why it is known that if you work more than 50 hours a week, what you get is diminishing returns. Your employees and co-workers at that point are just so exhausted that they can't get any more work done. I mean, you wouldn't expect someone who has just run a marathon to immediately run another marathon. But a lot of people, especially employers, just sort of don't seem to understand that the mind is not an infinite well that will never ever run dry. Because it will run dry at the end of the day, and if you're unlucky, for a long time. This is what we call burnout syndrome. But in all fairness, the idea of an exhaustible mind has gained some traction. Even the people who will just conveniently ignore its existence in the day-to-day will accept it as a fact academically. The spirit is a different story. This isn't some astral body type shit. I'm not talking about your soul, I'm talking about your spirit, your emotional reserves. People who work in sales will be familiar with this. If you spend 12 hours a day being nice to every single asshole that you meet, you will become unhappy. Talking to strangers in a formal context, giving emotional support to people, even empathizing with people in the first place, all of those things are exhausting. Even as a strong extrovert, there's only so much socializing you can do. Even if you just love everyone that you meet, you need some time alone and you need some time with friends. Spirit is a bit more complicated to maintain than body and mind. Body and mind will mostly recuperate overnight, and spirit also does this, but it'll deplete much faster if it's not properly fed. And I mean, that makes sense. You give body and mind fuel in the form of calories. But how do you fuel your spirit? Well, the simple answer is, there is no simple answer. Everyone has a different way of doing shit, and sometimes it's the mixture that makes the magic. For some people, it's spending time alone and doing things that they love. For other people, it's spending time with friends, which are people that they love. For most, it's a mixture of both. You need to figure out what works for you, not just for spirit, but for body and mind also, because people there also have different strategies of approaching this. These three resources do not exist in a vacuum from one another. An exhausted mind will have trouble operating the body. An exhausted spirit will hamper the mind at everything it does. An exhausted body is slow to react and quick to fall asleep. Though, probably a lot of you know the feeling of being physically exhausted, but you're lying in bed and the mind is still doing the carnival, and that's not very good. I certainly have problems with this all of the time. And the magic thing about managing your resources is that it's precisely the managing aspect that can make you be better at life. All of these super successful people, the high energy people, the people we're all expected to be, they don't have infinite wells of resources either. They've just mastered the art of managing their mental, physical, and emotional resources. They know when and how to take care of themselves, and they know how to minimize stress and strain. And there too, everyone has their individual techniques. Some do it by meticulously planning out every aspect of their entire week. Others always have their eyes on the gauge and know how to improvise resource management. But everyone has a toolset of techniques that works for them, and it's individual for every person, and we don't really know, most of us, what those techniques are that will keep us going. And I think that as a society, we place way too little importance on how powerful a skill that is. And we also don't understand that sometimes not doing any work at all will get more work done. A lot of companies are switching from the perform or die style of management to one that is more accommodating and tries to reduce stress for its employees and make them feel at ease. They allow people to operate within their own frameworks. They allow anyone to take any breaks whenever they want. Some even have recreational areas in the office. The 4-day work week is an interesting pilot project that a lot of companies are trying out, and it's generally resulted in happier, more productive workers. We're slowly waking up to the idea that it's very good to cut out unnecessary worries and stresses and decisions in people's lives, because it makes them more effective as individuals, more productive, more self-assured, and really, at the end of the day, more powerful. You need to get enough sleep, you need to spend time with your friends, you need to be able to pursue your hobbies. And there's no solution to this that works for everyone, no matter how much some people will try to peddle it to you. People are different, they have different wants and needs and different goals and different emotional states, different histories, different brains. The idea of self-discovery is often a bit, wooey, but it's a very powerful skill to have if you know what your mental, physical, and emotional resources are, and how to manage them properly. And I think we should all consider respecting that a little more. Thank you very much for watching this video. Do all the things that you would do with the video, like liking and subscribing. Go check out my merch store. There's some really fantastic merch that you want to be getting right now, because it will make you a happier and more productive person. Disclaimer, I can't guarantee that that will happen. I'm just saying it. Consider supporting me on Patreon for amazing rewards. Consider following me on Twitter and joining my Discord server. And in that spirit, go get some sleep, go take care of yourself, don't completely exhaust yourself, because it'll result in some bad consequences down the line. And see you around, cunts.